Today you'll see a jacket that fits amazingly with princess seams and a hood, perfect for autumn in between weather. I chose a fabric that's very bold. Sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today I have a jacket to share with you. It's a beautiful pattern from Itch to Stitch and it's called Orio jacket. Perfect for in between weather. It's a jacket that will fit really nicely, but it's not fitted and it's not boxy either, so it's just perfect. It's unlined, so you can choose something that's going to be perfect for sort of spring or autumn. Love that. And it's a jacket that has a hood. The hood has a little casing here on the top and it's a full front zipper closure. Really love the zipper technique here. On the inside, it's finished with a facing, so it's super neat. You never see the zipper tape. Of course, you have the shoulder seams, and from here, we have princess seams that start from the shoulders down to the hem. I think that's what makes the jacket fit so perfectly. Of course, being a woven pattern and Itch to Stitch, it'll have cup sizes, so that is always golden. I love jackets like this. It's a relaxed-ish fit, but it's not boxy either. It's got gentle waist shaping. At the back, it's simple. It's cut on the fold, and it's got a curved hem. The way that the curved hem is finished with a facing, which I think is the best way to finish a curved hem because everything lies super smoothly. If you want to, you can sew optional welt pockets here on the sides. I didn't sew the welt pockets for many reasons this time, but I love them. It's not that I don't like them, but there were reasons why I couldn't do them. For the sleeves, it's a long sleeve with a two-piece feature, that seam at the back. And on that seam, it goes down into a little slit. Super easy to construct, easy peasy. And then there's a simple cuff with a buttonhole and a button. Because the Orio jacket from Itch to Stitch is a brand new pattern, it's 20% off through next Tuesday, the 30th of September. If you want to support the work that I do here on YouTube, you can use my link. I do receive a small commission from the designer, but it doesn't cost you anything extra. So I'll leave you all that below. This is one of the ways I make an income creating helpful content here on YouTube that you can watch without any cost and just being there to hold your hand a little bit while you put amazing garments together. So if you use my link, I'm super grateful. For fabrics, medium weight fabrics would be the best for this one. I wouldn't do this in a knit. There's just so many techniques here that would just be overcomplicated in a knit. It would just be easier to do in a woven as recommended by the designer. You have flannel, brushed cotton, cotton twill, corduroy, denim, linen. I chose a fabric that is so weird. I'm going to show you some images here. If you've ever done some cross stitching, you would recognize these little holes where you put your stitches through, but they're not even. So it's sort of beige or white on the wrong side. Pretty ugly in my opinion. But on the right side, it's got this amazing geometric print in blue and green tones. It's loosely woven. It frays like no tomorrow. So that is my fabric choice. I just thought it was going to be a really cool autumn jacket. The colors are amazing, but I also knew that it was going to be a complicated fabric to work with. I didn't want to sew welt pockets on this fabric. I mean, I could already see the holes down the line. Even if I interfaced it with nipping into corners and having really precise cuts that you need for welt pockets, I would rather do welt pockets on fabrics that are woven normally tight, like cotton twill, like denim, like corduroy. But this fabric, Anyway, the other reason I couldn't sew them either was that I did not have time to sew them. You might know my mom's been visiting. When I'm filming this, actually, so the last day that she's here, we're off to the airport in a couple of hours. So just trying to maximize my time with my mom. I had on a difficult fabric and I didn't take on the welt pockets, but you'll be able to do them. Instructions are super clear there in the tutorial. If you are doing the pockets, then you need some lightweight cotton for the lining of these pockets, and it's also made with the main fabric. You need a fair bit of interfacing for some of the pieces here, the facings. You need to interface the center front where the zipper is going to go. You need a zipper that's at least 27 inches long. It's meant to be a little longer, that you trim off the teeth at the top. It just makes the construction technique easier. You need a drawstring. You need some tool tape to hide the seam that unites the hood to the neckline, and 2 buttons. For sizing 00 to 40 US, it goes up to a 62-inch hip, and cup sizes from A through to double D, which I think is amazing. Measure your high bust, your full bust, figure out the difference, look at the chart. That will tell you what your sewing bust cup size. Mine is a cup size C, which has been pretty consistent over the years, except in my 20s when I was a B cup. But yeah, for the ease, it's pretty comfortable. You'll be able to wear a light layer underneath. Around the bust, you have 4 inches, the same as the hips. Then at the waist, it's a little more straight. You have about 10 inches. The only fitting adjustments I did was to lengthen the sleeve by an inch, the shorten and lengthen lines there, and also lower my bust height by 3/4 of an inch. I chose a size 12 with the C cup, kept the 12 up to the waist, and from the waist, there's a little notch there on the side. I just blended out to the next size, which is the 14. So after all those fitting adjustments, I was very confident that this was going to work out really well. So I didn't do a test garment. Sometimes for some jackets, I do some non-wearable tests out of scrap fabric, especially when there's a bodice seam or things that I think I really need to check. I've sewn each stitch so much already. I sort of know the block and how it fits me. So I went straight onto the nice fabric. So that was nice. For sewing, the segment's going to be a little bit longer. There's a lot to see. I didn't film the whole thing, but most of it. The only thing I didn't film at the end was setting in the sleeves and the cuff. But you'll see the zipper, the jacket, you'll see a lot, the facings, interlining the hood, because I decided to do that. With this technique, because it's an unlined jacket, if you don't like the wrong side of your fabric, on the hood, you're going to see it. So I just decided to interline, which doesn't change the technique at all. It just adds another layer on there. So that's what I'm doing. And you'll see that as well. Seam allowance is 1/2 inch everywhere. There's a lot of trimming. It's very, very fun to sew. It's not something that's going to take you an afternoon. It's going to take you longer than that, but it's so worth it. Here are some of the pieces for the Oreo jacket. I can't fit them all on the table, but these are the main ones. The back is on the fold. This is the back hem facing. You can see it's a curved shape, so the facing is perfect. Love that. And then all the rest are the front pieces. There's princess seams on the front that come from the shoulders. I have a C cup here, so this is the center front, the side front, the facing, the zipper. The zipper has to be 27 inches at least. It can be longer. You can trim off teeth, but at least 27 inches. I think this one's 29. And here is the hem facing for the front. The sleeves are a 2-piece sleeve. Here's the upper sleeve, which is the big piece, and the sleeve is smaller. There's a little mark right there where there's going to be a little opening, a little slit right there. The cuff is a simple rectangle. It's been interfaced. This is the hood. There's 2 pieces. Because the hood is going to be seen on the wrong side when I wear it, I'm going to interline. So I've got some rayon right here. All I'm going to do is place this on top based around the edges and treat it as one piece. It's not going to change the sewing method, construction. It's going to be all the same. It's quite a contrast between the print and the wrong side. So I really don't want that to be seen. Now there's extra pieces if you want to do the welt pocket. I don't have time to do the welt pocket at this point, and this fabric is not great for it. Look, it's super loosely woven. I don't know if you can see, but it's just not great. It frays terribly. I don't think it would be a great idea to do something with snips and corners on this type of fabric. I've been working on these pattern pieces with some basic steps that I didn't film. The first was stay stitching. So all the necklines are stay stitched, as you can see, with the black thread right there from the shoulder into the center. I will have sleeves here, but my fabric frays and is loosely woven, and I was afraid this armhole was going to stretch also. I normally wouldn't stay stitch armholes when they're having sleeves on later, but I did for this fabric. So that's the same. I've done the same for the back right there. Now for the front facing, we also have to stay stitch with this one, even though it's interfaced. And also on this one, on the outer edge, this is like a stay stitch type guide stitch because all of these edges are going to be folded in for later. So that's done on both. And then on the hem facings as well. On the top edge, that also has a stay stitch / guide stitch at 1/2 inch that this is going to be pressed in later as well. I've also sewn the first general seam, which is the princess seam right here. I changed the color of my thread and the serger thread for this seam so you can't really see it, otherwise it would be way too contrasting. This is the only seam that I will have together, that's why I did that. For the rest, I have gone ahead and serged the edges with black thread because that matches more this fabric. These seams are all going to be pressed open. So I've done side seams, I've done shoulder seams right here, and some of the edges of the sleeve as well. I've just decided to get this step out of the way so all of my facings are ready for later, and I have gone ahead and pressed the edges in by 1/2 inch. Now along these curves here, I had to do a few snips to relieve the tension, same as along there on the facings. on this one as well. Along there I did a few snips so that everything can fold nice and smooth and there's no pulling. These are the front pieces. That is the bottom. You can see the curve, and these are the facings. When I was cutting them out, I wrote with a little pen center front so I wouldn't get confused as to what's what here. And so now we just put these right sides together like this. So this is the center front here, matching the center front there. The top edge has already been pressed in, so don't worry about that. And now this is what we sew right here. So just match up the shapes there. This is one of the facings pinned at the bottom of the front. This is the center over here. You can see there's a bit of selvage. So I'm going to sew from here, but I'm not going to sew all the way. I'm going to leave a bit unsewn because I want to finish sewing this later when I finish the side seam. That's just something I prefer to do. We do need to sew the facing on now because it's part of the zipper construction. So it's not like you can sew the facing on later, but you don't need to sew it all the way. I'm going to leave a gap there. And when I understitch, I'm also not going to understitch all the way to the center and all the way here either. I'm going to finish it at the end. I'm going to trim some seam allowance here on this section that I've sewn. It's just too much here. And I'm not trimming there where I've not sewn. I'm going to trim that later when I actually finish this later, when I sew the side seams. But for now, I'm going to push the seam allowance underneath the facing right here and understitch. This is another presser foot. This has an L on it. It's also a type of blind hem presser foot, but different. When you move this, it moves this edge in or out. So you can actually get whatever seam allowance you want, and it's really helpful. I've set it here to about 1/8 of an inch. Next comes the zipper. I've got both fronts together, right sides together. You can see that the center front has been interfaced in 1 inch wide all the way to the bottom. With the facing, we need to extend it and unfold the memory creases that we have there. So I've got the seams matching there and everything's matching. And this is with a 1 inch seam allowance, and it's just a basting stitch. So I've got a long stitch length here. After doing that basting stitch with 1 inch, we press the seam open, lots of steam, so it's really set. Remember, this is extended at the bottom. And where that seam is that unites the front with the facing pieces, up above 1/2 inch, I marked a little line, and that's where the stop of the zipper is going to go, the bottom of it. We're going to take the zipper where the pull is, and that's going to be facing the bottom. So the wrong side of the zipper is facing up, and we're going to align that stop right there where I marked 1/2 inch above that little seam there. And we're going to center the teeth on top of that seam. I have a lot of excess at the top, no worries, that can all be trimmed. This is very similar to when you're sewing a centered zipper on a pair of pants or a skirt. So basically here on the seam allowance, I've hand basted the zipper tape down, centering the teeth over the seam. I was very careful to do that. If I'm going to baste, I'm going to baste by hand. I feel I have much better control of what I'm doing. So I've just hand basted that. Now, when we turn this around, now we're going to unstitch this basting stitch that we had before. It's going to leave us a crease. And we're also going to, after unstitching that and opening this up, we're going to unzip the zipper and separate each half here, one side and the other. Looking a little bit when I have a thread, sometimes it works. You can just start pulling it and everything will come out super easy. Look at this, without having to unpick every single stitch. Voila, look at this. It's all open. Yay. So now I'm going to separate the zipper. Okay, here is one of the sides, right sides up. And now I'm going to take the facing that corresponds to this side, for this shape right here, right sides together. I'm going to match up the top. The facing is going to be shorter here, so don't worry about that. I'm going to align the edge of the facing with this edge right there. And we're supposed to sew this with 1/2 inch seam allowance, which is hard to see. So I'm going to be using a zipper presser foot. So I've actually drawn it there. It just makes it easier for me. One thing you need to worry about is if your zipper tape is wide enough. So let me pin this here I make sure that I am catching at least 1/8 of a zipper tape. I think I'm catching about almost 1/4 inch, so I'm fine here. If not, just move your needle to the left and sew it a little further here, like 1/8 of an inch or something. So that is the next step. So this is a definite stitch that's going to sew the zipper on and also the facing in one go. Okay, see that this doesn't reach the full length, but that's fine because it's going to be covered with this later. It's just too much to leave there. Just trim it down to about half. I'm trying not to trim too much and leave tiny seam allowances just because my fabric frays so much and it's loosely woven. Same reason I didn't want to do the welt pockets as well. I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side. Okay, that's how our facing was, but now I've flipped it to the inside and I've pressed it here along the zipper tape. That is the seam that I've just done right there, trimmed it up. I'm gonna match this up to the neckline here and all along the front. And now we're gonna edge stitch this right there, all the way to the shoulder. Okay, here is one of the sides. You see everything matches here. I have gone ahead and serged this top edge of the facing just so it's nice and neat. Raw edges of the neckline match. I have pinned that and already basted that together so it acts as one layer. And then I have hand basted the facing nice and flat. Remember, it doesn't go all the way to the bottom and that doesn't matter because this hem facing is going to cover that later. So now we just edge stitch this down. It's the same thing for both sides. I'm doing it from the wrong side because it helps me see what I'm doing. My presser foot is super helpful. And the stitch on the other side is going to look the same. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom, even if this doesn't go all the way to the bottom, so the stitch looks nice and even all the way down. Here is my back piece extended. I have already sewn the facing on, similar to what I did with the fronts, just that this is just one full piece. It's sewn, understitched, folded in, that's how it looks like, but I still have the sides loose for about 2 inches. I'm going to finish that later when I sew the side seams. And now we have our fronts with our zippers sewn in separately, and we can put these on top and sew the shoulder seams. So that's the seam that comes next. Shoulder seams, press them open. And once we do that, we'll be ready for the hood. I'm going to sew these off camera and be back for the hood. These are my 2 hood pieces. They are the same. It's just that I have a layer of blue right in here so it doesn't show the white when I wear the hood. I have actually hand basted them together quite a bit away from the edge so I can pull it out nice and easily afterwards. Right here along the center there's a dot on the pattern. I've got a piece of interfacing at the back of it that is inside. You can't see it. And I've also interfaced my interlining as well, so it's super stable. What I'm going to do now is some memory creases. There's on this straight edge here, there's a fold by 1/2 inch, like that. And then from that fold, we fold in 1 inch. So it's basically 1.5 inches here that is going to be folded. So 1/2, and then keeping that folded, 1. And it's just memory creases because we're going to do the casing later, but having those memory creases is going to be super helpful. Here are my creases, my first fold, my second fold. I'm going to keep that guide stitch there. I'm going to remove it later. It just helps me for now. And now we just open this up. There's a little dot on the pattern. That's where it is. You can do a grommet or a buttonhole. For this fabric, which is extremely loosely woven, I'm sure the grommet is not going to stay in there and it's going to end up falling out. So I'm not going to do a grommet. I'm going to do a buttonhole. I've practiced a few right here. And I'm just going to center it there over that dot there. Do that on both sides. That's where the drawstring is going to come out of later. If you were doing one single layer, you would see the little piece of interfacing here, but mine is tucked in under there, doing the interlining because I don't want the white fabric to be seen from the wrong side, but in essence, I'm not changing the sewing techniques or construction at all. After doing these creases and my buttonhole, I've already opened it. I've just sewn the seam of the hood there. Very simple, 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now, as I serge, I'm going to trim away. I'm going to get matching thread. I'm going to cut away these things here so that it looks as neat as possible here. What I've done here so it looks nicer, I've gone ahead and trimmed that seam allowance from my white fabric. It's fraying terribly, so it's not going to get in the way. And now when I serge this, it'll just be blue and it'll be cleaner and neater looking. Before sewing on the hood to the neckline, I've gone ahead and trimmed some teeth. So from the fabric that way, I've trimmed a little so I can sew on my hood without having issues with the needle going into teeth. And then from here, I've taken out a few. Look at them. Just brute force yanking them out. And then now I'm going to trim. Now I've sewn the hood to the neckline. Just let me show you the reference points. Here is the seam of the hood, which is the center back, and I matched it to the center back right there. There's a little mark. Along the hood piece, you'll see another mark that matches the shoulder seam that's pressed open right there. Remember our creases at 1/2 and then 1 inch. There's a little mark right there on the pattern. That's where the edge of the zipper and all of this should reach from both sides. So we have that little mark, matches right there. I did hand baste it first because I feel I have more control. It's a curved area. And then I basted it with the machine using 1/2 inch seam allowance from this mark to that mark right there. Now to finish the seam so it looks nice, we're going to use twill tape. It's supposed to be 3/8. This one's wider than that. I'm going to make it work. Next thing I've done is turn this so that the wrong side is facing up. And on this side, I pinned the twill tape. Now that basting stitch I'd done and made sure the twill tape was covering it by about 1/16 of an inch, so you can't see it. So I've done that from one end to the other. I'm going to trim away the excess twill tape here along the zipper because you're not going to need it there. It's going to be covered later. And now with a regular stitch length, I'm going to stitch this right there on the edge, like super on the edge, right there, all along. That's the first step. Okay, twill tape is sewn. I've taken out that basting stitch. Now these little bits from the hood that are hanging off here, all we need to do is wrap this around here. And then this first fold, we keep it as it is, like that. And now we're going to sew right there. Now we need to trim the seam allowance, but not the twill tape. So I'm going to push the twill tape out of the way and just start trimming over here. So take that out of the way, twill tape underneath my thumb here, and I'm trimming down these seam allowances, super bulky, all the way to the other side. Okay, all that is trimmed. Now we just flip this, and you can see how this is going to become the casing, but it also covers that. And now we need to press everything up, and now we're going to edge stitch along the top edge of the twill tape. It's going to totally cover everything. And it's going to give you a super neat finish right there. My twill tape is black, my hood is blue, but the print in here has both black and blue. So I think this is fine, it goes together. Okay, the next step I'm going to do it in one go. I've gone ahead and covered all the seam with the edge of the twill tape. Because my twill tape was a little wider, I didn't want it to look that bulky. So I folded the edge in by about 1/8 of an inch. You can't really tell, it's hand basted there. So that's how I'm going to fix that problem. And then I've fixed the casing in place. We'd already done the memory creases, so that is already fixed in place as well. So I'm basically going to go around there, fix that in place, then pick up here the twill tape and sew it right there, and that'll finish the hood section. The finish of the zipper here is really, really nice. Once this casing is done there, we can thread that drawstring through there, coming out through the other side. And I think it's a really neat finish. I'm sewing everything from the wrong side because I can see what I'm doing much better to sew along the edge of the fold. Okay, remember the edges of the facings? I hadn't sewn them all to the edge. Now it makes sense because I've sewn the side seams of the jacket. I've pressed it open and now I can come back and sew these ends right here. Finish that seam with this pressed open understitch. It's my preferred way to finish side seam. So I'm going to take the edges of the facings that I have here, sew them, press them open, finish that seam at the bottom and understitch that little bit on both sides. I had trimmed some seam allowance there, but now I'm going to finish trimming this on the sides. Now I'm going to finish the understitching here, and it's all going to be continuous. I'm going to repeat the same on the other side seam, finish up these facings. So there we have it. There's the facing. This gets pressed in, this goes up, and that's how we unite the front with the back right there. Super neat. One detail about the hem, here you just fold it up and you just place it a little diagonally there so that it's away from the zipper teeth. From the front, it's going to look super neat. And then I just pinned it and then hand basted it flat while it was on the ironing board, so it's going to be super neat. All I have to do is top stitch that down. But this section here, I did it by hand. So it's tiny slip stitches right there and there just to catch everything, so that my hem actually starts from this seam that caught the facing there. So my machine stitching is going to start there. It's not going to go all the way that way. I think it's just way too many layers, way too much bulk. So this first section, I just slip stitch by hand there. What I've got today on is a Mandela top, also from Each to Stitch. These are linen in polka dots, super cute. It's got dots on the side and also on the back. It's a very nice fit. It's not fitted, it's not boxy, it's just right. V neckline with a facing, and check out this cute little ruffle. I love this one. You should have a look at it. If you haven't, I've got a video all about it, and it's a super nice pattern from Each to Stitch. This is my Orio jacket. Check out this amazing fabric. You know, this is how the wrong side looks. It's sort of white and it's got that texture and look that the cross-stitch fabric has, but it's not cross-stitch fabric. This was sold as a winter suiting material here. I'm not actually sure of the composition, but this is a winter autumn jacket for me. Love the colors. I didn't have to match up anything, so that was awesome. Here, I'll show you the back seam of the sleeve. It's top stitched on both sides right there. And then it goes into a little slit right there. If you want to see how to sew this, recently I sewed the Clemente top from Each to Stitch that had a back yoke with a little slit. It's a short little thing like this. It's sewn partially and then open at the top. It's the exact same technique. It's just on this type of seam that's longer. I'll leave that link for you to see. It's exactly the same. And then we have a simple cuff with a buttonhole and a button. You overlap it so that it goes to the back, so that the cuff goes that way, towards the back side of your body. Here is my interlined hood with a navy rayon linen blend. Great fabric for it. You can't really see the seam. I made sure that my serger thread matched, but you can really see the casing that is formed by two folds here. This is another fabric that would not work for the grommet. It would, I mean, I know the grommet would have just fallen out because with all the interfacing in the world, sometimes you just can't fix a fabric that's so loosely woven. So I opted for the safer option, which is a little buttonhole there, little drawstring I made myself out of linen, and I put this. You'll see, I might have made it too long, the drawstring. I might trim it down a little bit. That's fine. In here, I have twill tape. I had like 2 yards of this twill tape that someone sent to me years ago. It was 5/8 of an inch, and this needed to be 3/8 of an inch. So that's why I folded the top edge. But it turned out very neat, super easy technique that hides the seam and makes it look super neat there. It comes from behind this casing right there. So cool. I think this finish is amazing. And because it's twill tape, it means it doesn't stretch. So this is not going to deform over time and get saggy, you know. So I agree. Very nice. Simple set-in sleeves right there. The princess seams, you can't see them there because I changed all my threads to white to do that. But it comes from the shoulder and goes down. I have edge stitched it right there. You can barely see the edge stitching. Maybe you can, but it makes such a difference to the feet. Everything is so smooth on the side. It's just amazing. The back is simple. It's on the fold. Now, the zipper finish here with the facing, I think is so nice. I mean, it's just so, so nice looking. Seams are pressed open on the side and the hem facing at the bottom is just amazing. It's amazing to have things that are relaxed fitting, but also that fit well and they're not boxy. So this is great. I've styled it 4 ways for you to see, sort of casual, dressed up, all sorts. I've matched everything to navy and green, which are the colors that I mostly like. Anyway, you'll see I had a lot of fun styling this, and I know there's many more ways I could have done it. This is my brand new Oreo jacket from Itch to Stitch. I use an amazing print here that's sort of geometric. I didn't need to match anything. It's a wintry fabric in medium weight, super nice. This is a jacket that fits super well. The curved hem is finished with facings. It's got a bit of a curved hem. It's got a full zipper on the front. The fit is not boxy, it's not tight either. There's a nice amount of ease at the hips and waist to wear a layer underneath. I've just got a fitted ponte dress. The back is simple, nothing there, it's just on the fold. And then up closer, you're gonna see that the sleeves have two-piece feature with a little slit, a simple cuff and a button. Here's a closer look at the sleeves and that stitch. It's top stitched, it's super easy technique. And the hood. I've interlined my hood because the wrong side of my fabric is really ugly and you would see it. This is an unlined jacket. And the union of the hood with the neckline is covered with twill tape, super clean finish. Little drawstring there that I made out of linen, and this is such a nice fit in the shoulders, princess seams that come from the shoulder. I'm using a C cup. Mine is a size 12 bust, same as the 12 waist, and then blended to a 16 hip, and I feel the fit is so nice. This hood is a really simple hood to put together. It's just 2 pieces and it's interlined. I always like a hood. It's just a great option to get warmer if you need it, but also cool looking. I love the interlined feature, which is not part of the pattern. It's just something I added, but doesn't change the sewing at all. There's a zipper all the way up. So nice. It's such a lovely jacket. These colors, they're sort of autumnal, the green, the blue. There's a bit of black and brown there. It's so lovely. There's one optional detail here that I didn't sew this time, and it's welt pockets on the sides. They are optional. I didn't find that this fabric was appropriate for that type of detail, and I know I tend to dress up my makes because I just love that, and I know I'm gonna wear it like this someday, but this could be also super casual and worn in so many ways. So yeah, I'm super happy with my make. Such fun sewing. Knowing the result was going to be amazing is the best. And I love the amount of ease here. It's perfect. Now I've gone to a super casual look with some neat green pants and sneakers and a blue tank top in there. So this is great. The jacket can go all the way from church to just a casual setting. So I love that. I have plenty of green things. It's a color I've been building, and it's one of the colors that is in the jacket print that I chose to highlight. And this is just so comfortable. It's just the best thing. I love these 2 items paired together. The pants are sort of thickish, but I still have plenty of ease around the hips there with the jacket on top. So I'm pretty happy, and I know this is an outfit I'm definitely going to wear out when it's nice and chilly, but I still want to look nice because this definitely looks super nice. I love this. This is a green linen skirt, but also from Itch to Stitch. You can see the color, that brown caramel color in the print, so I pulled that and used it for the booties and the bag. I think this looks super cute. It's a great autumnal outfit, and yeah, I'm very happy. You know, I'm always going to bring out my skirts because I'm a huge skirt wearer, and everything under the jacket is pretty simple. The jacket is sort of the main item here, and I love how it looks together. Color combinations here just makes my heart sing. Okay, this was my mom's favorite look because she loves jeans, and so do I, but these are just fitted ready to wear jeans, flared below the knee, fitted at the waist and hips. Of course, jeans are going to go perfect, or anything denim. Swap this for a denim skirt would look super cute as well. I've kept the caramel booties there in the same bag, the same shirt, just swap the bottoms. These are great casual outfit. I think the jacket dresses up the jeans beautifully, and this is cool. I felt awesome dressed up in my jeans and my new Oreo jacket. So many other outfits I could have pulled together to show you, but I think 4 is good, and I'm very happy with how this jacket turned out. Fits amazing, super comfortable, love all the details. Here I've zipped it all the way up. Such a beautiful jacket, very well worth all the hours that it took to make. I'm very happy and satisfied when I make something like this. And, you know, sometimes sewing is more expensive than buying clothes, but there's one type of garment that offsets that, and it's usually jackets. I think we actually can make jackets that cost less in materials, not in the time factor, but at least in materials than what you would pay in a shop, especially if you want something really nice. So I love this. Turned out amazing. Highly recommend. You would really love it. Remember, it's on sale through the 30th of September. All the information below. I'll see you soon this week again with a super special video. See you then. Bye.